Everyone, welcome back to our podcast, Let's Be Curious Together. My name's Brett.
And I'm Molly.
We're so glad you're here today. What are we going to be talking about today?
Well, first of all, I just wanted to introduce our cat.
Yes. When we introduced all of you 5 weeks ago to the podcast, we said we
intro.
We said we had 4 kids, 2 dogs.
2 dogs.
And that was it.
And I didn't say cat.
There's the cat.
And the sad thing is she is my cat.
She's
my cat. Yeah. I'm sorry, Belle. And as we were starting this podcast, she just plopped herself in the middle of us, and here she is. This is Belle. And we love her. And she loves us. So today we're going to be talking about expectations and unspoken rules, laws, goals, standards that we might actually impose on ourselves without really communicating with our spouse about them, or without really knowing if they are relevant or not, or applicable to life, to actual life. I think a lot of times our brains can be working subconsciously on a lot of things, and we can make these decisions without really knowing for sure that it's the right choice or that it's relevant to the moment. But we can get into that a little bit.
Yeah. I think you want to start with some life updates.
Yeah,
just where we've been at recently.
I wanted to share that we went to a wedding this weekend, and it was just a really, really fun celebration. Couple's pretty young. We have a lot of youngins in our community getting married. And then some of my nieces and my family have gotten married very young, and it's just, I don't know if it's this generation or what, but I feel like people are just getting married super young, but there's something really, really cute about it, and very, very sweet, because you look at the couple and you're like thinking about all that you've been through since you were that age.
Right.
And I don't know about you, but I think if I were that age back, like Molly was at that age, trying to get married at this point,
You don't think you would have been ready?
I don't know what I would have done. Like,
Yeah.
Was I even alive then? Like, was my brain even on then?
I definitely didn't know who I was then, that's for sure.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I had a lot of unknowns, a lot of insecurities, like major things.
Yeah.
But I did actually, when I was 16, believe that I was ready to get married. That's a fun fact about Molly.
When you were 16, your 16-year-old self was like, yeah, I'm ready.
I'm like, I would get married. I just want to skip everything else. I just want to get married. But I didn't have a boyfriend. I didn't date or anything. Anyway.
I think I was like 21 by the time I was like, all right, I think I'm about ready.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's when we started dating.
Yeah.
What he says, he does.
Good job, spoken.
Babe. Good job, babe. I'm glad you have your life together like that.
Well, I didn't say I actually was ready. I just said that's when I thought I was ready.
I thought it, and I was.
Therefore, I did. I acted.
I actually wanted to ask you, what was your favorite moment at the wedding?
There are several moments, but I think one of my favorites was we sat in the back with all of our little kids, and our 3 daughters just walked out into the back of the aisle and were peeking their heads around the corner so they could see a clear line, and just watch
the bride and the groom.
To the bride and the groom. Yeah, right down the aisle, and they're just poking their heads around the corner, looking straight down, and just the wonder in their eyes. At the moment, and just watching it all unfold, that was really special. And
there is something so special about that, because these are seeds being planted in their hearts. Like, they are envisioning themselves as the bride, and it's casting vision for their life down the road. It is insanely special, and just very meaningful to have community that we can be a part of, where they know the bride and they've known her for a long time, and now she's transitioning into a different season of life. So it's like we each keep watching each other, live life, and we can learn from each other.
Yeah.
But yes, I that's a very special moment. I agree.
It was,
Yeah.
And, they went through the stages of her being a friend right, a peer, so to speak, an older peer, like an older sister, and to now she's an adult, you know. And then they asked me after the ceremony, do we have to call her Mrs. now, or do we get to still just call her by her first name? And I'm like, huh, I don't know. We're going to talk. We're going to figure that out. I don't know what we're going to say, but you know, it was like, it's interesting for them to go through those, you know, shifts.
Yep.
Right. Those seasons and shifts and stuff. And so it's fun.
We're in great company.
Yeah, it's great.
It's so good. It's so healthy. It's so healthy. I remember being a little girl going through that too. Yeah. I think my favorite moment was the father-daughter dance. It was very emotional. And thinking about you one day. I mean, I think we all just selfishly think about ourselves at events like this, you know.
Sure.
But because it's so heart connected, you know, I think about you and the girls, but I was also celebrating them just in the journey that they've gone on, and they're just a very sweet father-daughter, and just to see them enjoying their time during that dance was cool. So anyway, it was just fun weekend.
Yeah.
Fun weekend.
Good stuff. So today we're going to talk about, you know, unspoken expectations, you know, in relationships and marriage. Obviously is like the main lens we're looking at this through, but this is really for all relationships, you know, not just marriage. And then something you said, which was like, you know, the hidden laws or rule book, is what playbook, what would you say?
Yeah. I've caught myself so many times over the years having this subconscious, unspoken playbook. And I think fear has been a huge driver for it, to be honest. And when it comes to like internal expectations and stuff, I've kind of been catching myself for a long time with, okay, why did I think that? Why did I think that needed to happen that way in this moment, in that, you know, with that type of conversation? And I feel like I feel bad for you in a lot of ways, just in how rocky it's been, but we've worked a lot out, let's just say. One of the things that you know, on both sides, like you've worked a lot on you and I've worked a lot on me. So one of the things that I very clearly have grown in is this internal expectation being what it was, expressed itself in external criticism. So if things weren't living up to this specific idea that I had, I would get pretty critical of it, and I would call it not good, and I would call it not enough. So when you know, whether it was you or something you did, or, you know, planning anniversary celebrations, or special events, or, you know, using weekends to work on the home when I didn't quite ask you to do that, you know, all these like missed marks for different ideas that we would have when we weren't on the same page, I would resort to criticizing you and your ideas because it didn't quite align with mine. But what I didn't realize was there are two people in this relationship, and like working with you wasn't a skill that I had. Working you into this partnership idea and creating a vision together for everything wasn't something that I had before. And I realized I was we were desiring to live together. We were desiring a close covenant. We were desiring this, you know, knock it out of the park family life. But getting there, I didn't have the skills to actually work with you. And that's been a very interesting area of growth for me. So when it came to like really listening and talking through things with you and realizing, oh, this was all in my head and I never said it out loud. And when it came to bringing you in on my internal thought life and my internal vision, I just came up really, really short for a very long time. But I think we've gotten so much better.
Man, I think the like four deadliest words in a marriage, in my opinion, are they should have known. I guess that's three. They should have known. It's like that's so dangerous,
Yeah.
right? And it just right there. And we were both knee deep in that is saying they should have known. This is how I felt. They should have known. This is what I wanted, even though I
If
never
they really knew me, they would know what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yes.
I know.
If you really knew me, you would know exactly
What I need.
What I need. If you really knew me, you know exactly what's romantic to me. I wouldn't have to tell you. If you really knew me, you know exactly how my perfect birthday would go, or the perfect anniversary, or a vacation, or whatever it is, right? All the dreams, the things that are sitting inside, right, and building up, but we don't say them, and then we're upset when those unexpressed expectations are not met, and we're heartbroken. Like and then the conclusion that we draw from that is they must not know me,
right? Or they must not love me,
or they must not love me.
And
they
what
must
does
not
the future
care.
look like?
They don't care. They don't love me.
Yeah.
And more often than not, at least in our relationship, both of us have been on the other end of that, saying, I'll move heaven and earth for you. I just need you to tell me where you want to go. I just need you to tell me what, and I'll do it.
Yes.
Like, I'm more than willing, but I can't read your imagination and your dreams and your mind, you have to express those.
Yes. Express them, but also have a heart of unity.
What do you mean by that?
When I'm just expressing what I want, it is really selfish. You know what I mean? When I'm just expressing the vision that I have for our life, as if if I'm expressing it in a way where I'm including you in as a player in the game.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Instead of a creator of the game.
Yep.
That's a different heart approach. And I think for a long time I didn't have a heart. The heart of, can we build this together?
Yeah.
It was, I'm just going to kind of be over here and you're going to be over there. And we really love each other. We're really loyal to each other. We will never do this, never do that, never, hurt each other. But engaging in a really cohesive, unified leadership of our lives was a different level. And I think it's a huge maturity level that you don't reach easily. Like there are some sacrifices along the way, some major steps of humility that need to be taken before you can reach that. It has to be earned. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. And what I'm hearing you say is kind of this like contrast of, there's a really big difference between saying, hey, here's my dream and you need to jump on board with it and do it, versus, hey, here's the thing I've been dreaming about. What do you think? And how can we both make this our dream? And like inviting into the process. And that also kind of includes having to have some level of compromise and like allowing other influence to come in and shape it and mold it. And it may not be 100% of the original,
right?
But those are two totally different things, right? Versus like, I this is it, I've decided, you know, you need to do it for me. Go do it.
Well, and then there's the flip side that says that, like, when I have been asked, what do you want? What are your dreams? I didn't know. I didn't know how to explain them. I didn't know how to express them. I didn't know how, like the emotional feelings that I had about what I wanted for my future. I couldn't put it in tangible terms to save my life. You know what I mean? But I knew I wanted to feel a certain way, but I didn't know how to say that. I didn't know what it meant. And to be honest, I didn't have dreams outside of you. But the problem was, in getting to our future, I wasn't engaging you, and I wasn't like linking arms with you. So one way that I think we've grown in this, just to kind of give an example, is our needs. So when we talk about I need this. You need this to, unwind. Say I came back from work, a very stressful day, and I really just needed to lay down and not talk to anybody. That's something that I had to explain and express to you. And when it came to needs for comfort, safety, like internal needs, I think we got a lot better at taking care of each other in that way. And I really loved when you started expressing to me what your needs were, because I found myself trying to fulfill your needs, trying to do what I thought you needed, assume I knew.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of our big words, actually. We joke about the word assume because it's embarrassing how much.
Yeah.
I'll just say me. I won't put it on all women. I won't put it on all women.
Oh.
But I'll just say me, how much I assumed about you when it came to what you needed.
Yeah.
That mothering, nurturing side of me that's great at taking care of little infants. Like I impressed and imposed that on you, my idea of what you needed. And I remember when you started to really explain to me what you needed. Is there something that you can think of that we worked through? So one thing it just immediately that comes to my mind is you work from your home office, and
it's funny. I was thinking about something related to that too.
Oh,
go ahead.
Home office, and I love being able to walk by your door and say hi to you, and we talk multiple times a day. And so at the end of the day, sometimes I'll say, "Hey, how was your day? Did you get through everything you wanted to?" Or, was it a productive day?
You used to ask me, "What did you do today?"
What did you do today? Yeah, what did you do today?
What did you do today?
That's it. That's what it was.
And
what did you do today?
What did you do today?
And little did I know, my heart was to gather information about what you walked through, what you encountered, and what I was really asking was, are you happy with your progress today? Do you have any exciting news you can share with me? It was just a check-in, but for you, it meant.
From my perspective, not all the time, but a lot of the time, you're stay-at-home mom. You got a lot on your plate, busy, tired. Most of the time, when you would come in, plop down into the couch or chair in my office, and go, "So what did you do today?" And it felt so much like, I need to know that you were productive. This is the message that I would hear subliminally, assuming, right? Reading between the lines was, I need to know that you were productive with this time that I had our children. So I don't feel like I wasted all this energy because I am exhausted right now. Mm-hmm. And if you didn't check enough off that box, I'm going to be upset. Mm-hmm. Because I'm burning, all of these resources over here to take care of the family. Mm-hmm. And if you were slacking, then I'm not going to be happy. That was like the between the lines,
Yikes. What you were gathering.
What I was gathering, assuming, picking up from that question when you said, "What'd you do today?" Right? And I was like, and all of a sudden it felt like I'm in the principal's office or, an overbearing boss that's wanting to micromanage and give me a record of the minutes of everything you did and said. And I'm going to weigh it and make sure it's worth
gross
what it's supposed to be. And I was just like, I don't like this.
No.
I don't like this.
I mean, let's be honest. In my humanness, sometimes I would be frustrated with life. And, if you took a nap in the middle of the day or something like that, I would get jealous. Okay. Sometimes my frustration would lead me to judge you a little bit, but it was only in my frustration. Most of the time when I asked, "What did you do today?" It was genuinely like, "Hey, tell me about your day."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That would have been a better question.
So, tell me about your day.
Yeah.
So basically, we through like some healthy communication and conversations, this came out that he was receiving it a certain way from me that I didn't mean to be giving to him. Basically,
Yeah. I mean, I basically just said, "Hey, honey, I appreciate that you're like wanting to check on me.
yeah.
I
But
just
it's
want
coming
you to
across.
know when you say this,
Yeah.
here's how I'm hearing it."
Yeah.
And I basically explained it the way I just did,
Yep.
you know, and saying, when you say it this way,
Yeah.
I'm hearing it this way.
When you finally explained that to me, I was shocked and heartbroken, to be honest, because of how much we were missing each other.
Mm.
And I remember just saying, that is the opposite of what I'm trying to do here. I am so sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And
He did, yeah.
it hurt me that I was hurting you without knowing it. You know what I mean? And so I think I probably, did I ask, like, how do you want me to say it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You asked me for some different.
Yeah, some different language, some different verbiage
Yep.
that wouldn't trigger your mind in that way. And so we moved on from that. But yeah, so
But
just
we were able to have the calm.
yeah.
Instead of I didn't blow up, you know, in reaction, even though I felt reactionary, you know, and you know, it was, I don't even think the first time I confronted it, it was after it had happened several times. I'm like, oh, okay, this is a pattern. Hey, let's talk, address it, you know, and let's find a better way. And you didn't blow up either, you know, and blow up at me. And so we were able to just have a good conversation about it. And I think one of the big things, though, too, that I've tried to be strategic with, and you've become pretty strategic with as well, is timing.
Mm-hmm.
For confrontation, you know, I mean, timing for having these conversations, and sometimes in the moment is not the best time, right? Because you know, if you're tired already and then you come and you sit down and then you're wanting to have a genuine connection time, and I respond with telling you everything you just did wrong in your attempts for genuine connection, that's just asking for trouble, right? Like, but waiting until later when we're both in a good place. I think that was a big thing too. Like, and one of the things that we talked about pretty early in the morning, or not in the morning, early in our marriage.
Never early in the morning.
Early in our marriage was how there needs to be times that we're not having serious conversations with each other. And for me, I'm not a morning person, so I was like, please don't get me first thing in the morning.
Never in the morning.
Never in the morning. And for you, never at night, you know. And I think we basically came to something along the lines of, when the sun isn't up, it's not a good time. Like, you know, early morning or late at night, whatever. If the sun is down, we probably need to let this rest, and let's catch each other like midday when we're both kind of at our best. And that's a good time when we can have these types of conversations, or if we're, you know, just the two of us, you know, somewhere at dinner or something like that. Let's have these moments when we're both kind of in our best spot, not low on energy, not burnt out, not tired, not whatever, you know, and then that's when we'll work through more serious conversations. So we're not, you know, we're going to it the best possible way. Hoping for the best possible outcome, right?
Yeah. And I think another one, another like expectation situation has been understanding how you recharge, and then communicating how I recharge when I'm stressed or when I'm low, and really taking ownership of those things.
And what drains you.
And what drains me. Oh my goodness. That's been oh my goodness.
Knowing what drains the other person.
Yes.
And how they need to, what they need to recharge.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
For some reason, I've been very disconnected from my personal understanding of my energy levels and what drains me. And you have been a huge, huge voice of reflection in, hey, maybe that's not a good idea right now. But
I remember that wasn't always well received.
No, because I didn't want to be called, and I guess in my pride or whatever, I didn't want to be called weak or not enough
or told what to do.
Yeah, probably. Told what to do. Well, I'm a youngest.
Mm.
I'm a youngest of 5. You're an oldest of 4. And,
Yeah.
you know, you can come across bossy
Mm.
sometimes. Bossy, stingy. And
Wow.
I can come across
Reckless.
reckless, bratty, rebellious. You're not going to tell me what to do. So that's been another fun thing. But no, but with like expressing needs on how to recharge and stuff, it's not, I'm realizing it's not supposed to feel equal in this. This is not an equal game. It's not a fair, like fairness should not be the primary goal here. The primary goal when we're talking about fulfilling our needs for recharge and for stress reduction needs to be as needed, and we need to provide each other with a safe place to express that need and to rely on each other to help fulfill that need.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the definition. I think that's the true definition of love, though, is that love isn't fair, right?
No.
It's not about fairness.
No.
It's not about equal for you, equal for me, you know. It's about what does the other person need, and I'm going to rise up to meet that need. So, like, what are you needing right now? And I'm going to seek to meet that. And then when I'm in need, you're seeking to meet my need, right? And help. And obviously there's the things that we can only get from God too, but it's that idea of, it's not about, oh, okay, I know you're needy, but you've had 2 hours, now it's my 2 hours. Right.
One thing that we've walked through a lot is our vows in sickness and in health. And you walked through some pretty serious medical things the past several years, and you're in a great place for actually quite a while now.
It was 3 years ago
when it started back. And then you've been in a great place for about 9 months. No, maybe a year. Maybe about a year. But during like a 2-year stint, there were these waves of medical issues that showed up for Brett. And during that time, there was like no option for fairness whatsoever. There was, hey, I'm gonna show up for him how he needs me, and I'm not going to say a word about it. And this is what marriage looks like. And he cannot afford to feel bad about this. He cannot afford to be in any other position other than me supporting him. And I'm sure the same goes too when I'm pregnant and going through lots of pregnancies and changes and vulnerabilities in that pregnancy. But that I think medical issues in general just kind of bring out a deeper level of people, because it's like sink or swim, you know, in how you're going to respond. And I think that's been a really, really cool benefit to the terrible situation. I feel so like happy that we went through that with you, but also I would never wish it again on you. But in a way, it taught me to kind of prioritize things. And I feel like maybe it brought up some conversations of, what do you need? And how can I help fulfill what you need now? You leaned on me in a different way. You
literally
I helped you walk. But I think it like cracked open that thing in us where now we have regular conversations about needs instead of just wants. Or
and I mean, obviously I was in a place physically of literally needing you, right, to operate, you know. But there's something deeper there that I think we were cracking into before, but obviously that doubled down on, which is emotional dependency. And I don't mean like an unhealthy like codependency thing.
No.
But this level of, I am going to fully depend on you. And I'm not going to live myself independent from you. I think that's really easy to slip into, especially if you end up in like a roommate type level of relationship in your marriage, of saying like, I'm just going to do whatever I need to do for me, and I'm going to live, you know, as, a roommate to you, right? For myself, by myself. And we're going to have some of our moments of crossover, but I'm not going to need to depend on you for anything, right? And I think there's just like zero intimacy to like any, you're not creating a place for intimacy to happen when you're in that spot, you know what I mean? Of saying, I'm just going to do it all on my own for myself, And so we hit this moment, and you had your times, right? Was pregnancy or postpartum, and then I'm having this medical thing, and through both of those, it was us saying like, I need you, right? I'm fully dependent on you, emotionally, spiritually, physically. You're like, hey, can you step up? And I think it's through that process, though, of us stepping up for each other, and actually seeing it. You know what I mean? Like when you stepped up for me, and I'm like, oh wow, there she is. I can depend. I feel like I know. You've always said you would, but now you have.
Yeah.
And like, there's another level of trust, a deeper layer of trust that's built through that, right? Through that journey of going through it. And so, all of these things are hard. They're tough. They suck sometimes to walk through, but it develops deeper trust, to say, hey, even in those times, she was right there, had my back. And I think we've just had 10 years of plenty of opportunities to keep building our trust in each other.
We had definitely enough. We didn't want any more.
Lord, we're good for a while. All right.
Yeah. Well, it's just interesting because, I have siblings that have been married for a long time, way longer than us. And just watching them walk through, for instance, my sister walked through year 10, like 5 years ago or whatever. And you just think about where you can go in life the longer that you're married. And I definitely didn't expect marriage to be like this, to like feel like this. Is it cool? Yeah. Is it beyond my imagination? Yes. And that's the thing, is like whatever vision I had in the beginning was just limited until you actually like bunker down and start living life with someone and trudging through the ditches and the trenches. And it's just very meaningful. And I think the comfort, a lot of the comfort and a lot of the safety that we can afford each other comes from being a place where you can express your needs and where I can express my needs. Where if you share a need with me, I'm not going to tease you about it. I'm not going to criticize you about it. I'm not going to hold it.
Not going to use it as ammo in this
fairness balance thing. Well, if you do this for yourself, then I get to go shopping, right? Like there isn't this weight and balance scale that we have for each other, and I'm very grateful for that. I couldn't live under that. But I think that's the closest thing that feels like love to me, is you showing up for me, ready to go, whenever I need you to. And we've been through enough where we've exercised this language enough, and I'm just really grateful for that. So
I'm grateful for you.
It's pretty cool to see.
Yeah. I mean, you touched on something there briefly that isn't necessarily on topic of what we're talking about, but I'll just say I'm grateful for it, which is choosing not to use past comments, or especially like expressed needs and vulnerabilities. You know what I mean? When opening up and being vulnerable about what I'm feeling, thinking, needing, and then using that as ammo later, right, to throw back at me. And I had been in relationships before where that was a pattern, right? And I know many guy friends who would have similar problems where they're like, I can't be vulnerable and open up, because whatever I share when I'm vulnerable will end up being used against me later. I even know of some who their marriage is split, and they ended up using those vulnerabilities that come out, whether it was personally or with a counselor, and then like using those against them in court hearings and saying, this is why you can't trust them to have paternal rights, or whatever. And so there's a whole bunch of men who are just so terrified of being vulnerable because they don't trust that their spouse is actually going to do something, is going to be trustworthy with that information, that is actually going to take care of them with that. They feel like they are handing a loaded gun to someone who means them harm. And
it's not safe.
It's not safe. It doesn't feel safe. And it's not, isolated. There's a large track record of a lot of people, and it's not all women, obviously.
No.
But there's been enough. There have been enough that have done it.
Yeah.
That it makes them very hesitant in past experiences with people who are unhealthy, right? And that's what it really comes down to, is unhealthy people, right?
Absolutely.
Irresponsible people, unhealthy
and we all
people.
have our levels of unhealth.
And we all do.
We all have our areas of growth.
Yes. The sad thing is that those types of things create stigmas.
Yeah.
Right? Of, oh, it's all women.
All you have is your experience.
Right. And
to go off of.
And, we are designed to run away from pain and guard against pain. And anytime we experience pain, the first thing is like, we're going to create a way that you're never going to experience that again. Like the body's like, I'm going to make sure that never happens again.
Self-preservation.
Yes. And so it happened because you opened up, so we're never going to do that again.
Yeah. So what's been a way that I've been able to build trust with you, like practically speaking?
This sounds silly. You know this already,
it's
though.
It's not silly.
I had a lot of people who I couldn't trust through many different years of, upbringing and teens and early 20s. People who I thought were friends who were not. I've been burnt so many times. Yeah. And so I remember with you, I don't even remember what it was, but I had shared something with you. And you had one of your friends, and one of your friends didn't keep a tight lip, and I was like, oh, okay, but you did, and I'm like,
how did you know that?
Because I heard it from someone else.
Oh, and you asked them who told them?
Yes. I'm like, okay, well, there's that, and then I'm like, okay, but Molly didn't say anything. Interesting.
That must have been really early on.
It was very, very early on.
Yeah.
And, but that caught my attention. I'm like, oh, she actually kept her word. Interesting. Okay. And I mean, I don't think this isn't all women, but all the women I had experience with prior were the type that you have a private conversation, let's say, or even text, and then immediately there's screenshots of your whole text conversation in a group chat with all their friends. And they're like exposing and discussing.
That's really tricky.
And gossiping, and I'm like,
so I didn't expose you.
You didn't expose me. Yeah.
Okay.
You were, I could trust you with things that I had to say. It's not like I have all these like secrets, but it's just that I was so burned and from relationships in the past, you know what I mean? And had lost so many friends for reasons that weren't my fault, that I was like overprotective of like, who can I trust again? I want to trust people, but who can I trust? I want to have someone to open up to. And
I think trust is such an art. Building trust is such an art form because trust means something different to everyone. And learning about you and learning what matters to you has been quite the adventure, I would say, because it's so unexpected. Like the unexpected ways that I can promote a safe environment for you have been different than what I expected and what I assumed.
Tell me about like what was something you expected and what was reality.
Okay, so I think exposure was definitely a big one. And then
You didn't expect exposure?
yeah, I didn't expect that you would feel exposed by that because it wasn't the way that I am. But anyway, so a different one would have been caring about what matters to you and respecting what matters to you. Like there are certain things that I would do that would be difficult for you to swallow. So you would ask for a behavioral change. And one example is I have left the van unlocked many a times overnight, and
Or doors open.
So we have a sliding door. You push the button and it slides closed and locks in. So either one of the girls would leave it open or I would leave it open, and I wouldn't double check that it was closed before I would like come in for the night. And Brett would find the van open and he would find the doors open. And I remember like for me, it was just like, oh man, I did it again. Well, praise the Lord, our wallets are still in there. Like nobody's wallets. But for you, it mattered differently to you because you are the protector of our home. Mm-hmm. So me understanding what matters to you as the protector was what I needed to engage with in order to create a behavioral change that meant something. Mm-hmm. So I could have just, like shooed you away and said, no, it's fine, I won't have it again, blah, blah, blah. But I heard you out and you explained to me, I am the protector. I am here because you and the girls need a safe environment and I care about that. I don't want our wallets to be stolen. I don't want our vehicles to be stolen. I don't want to put you in danger or our girls in danger.
Yeah. And I don't want something to be in that vehicle that's going to harm you.
Yes.
When you get in there.
Yes.
Or it rains in the vehicle and now it doesn't work for you and you're stranded. Yes. And you're in trouble. Like there's so many layers to
basically the provider and the protector.
Right.
I could have chosen just to excuse you away, but I chose to empathize with you and hear you out in that. And I had a deeper understanding of what matters to you then. And I think a lot of times we can just not engage with the deeper empathy of each other and what matters. But I really, really value that you want to create a safe place for me. And this is why I'll have this behavioral change to support that for you. Mm-hmm. It's not just you're trying to control me. Mm-hmm. I want to leave my doors open anytime I want. That's silly and very immature. But I wanted
that type of community.
But me sending a message to you of I honor the way that you are, and I honor what you're trying to do for me. So I'm going to have a behavioral change to support that. Mm. That is a language that feels so good and so different than just reacting and being childish and trying to not be controlled and like turning it into something else. No.
Right.
No, my heart was to honor you in that. So that felt really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think often we just don't, I don't know. I can speak for us. We developed our language of that. Like we developed a way to meet each other on that deeper level, but it took time.
Yeah. I remember one for you.
Okay.
Which was basically the counters always being clean and clear when you come down. And it's like, obviously that's
so triggering.
Yeah. Like that would just get you.
Yeah.
Your day would start poorly if that was the start to your day, was that there was a pile of stuff on the counters, right? And to me, it was like, whatever, there's just a pile of stuff on the counters. It's the same pile we looked at last night before we went to bed. I don't know why feels different in the morning than it did last night, I'm like, whatever. But for you, I was like, at first I couldn't get my mind around it. You know what I mean? Why that would feel so different 12 hours later, But I'm like, okay, well, even if it doesn't make sense to me, even if I don't get it,
It matters to me.
it matters to you, and it's going to make you feel better. So I'll just start working on that. I'll start doing that. I'll start pitching in to, as often as I can to try and alleviate that.
And it doesn't happen every time. Like, you don't clean the counters off every time you throw dishes in the dishwasher. Like, it's not something to check off in the box. It's not something that I'm demanding of you. It's not a system that it's not a construct that I've created that needs to be followed. But it's a blessing to me, and it helps me feel heard and important when you do that, for sure. But there's something else that I've heard a lot of, or experienced a lot in other people's marriages. And there's always the opportunity for me not to see the whole picture, and that's fine. But I feel like a lot of women are okay living very separate from their husbands.
Yeah.
Very separate in the way they live life, in the way they experience relationships, in the way that they find pleasure in life, in the way that they spend their time. There's this like compartmentalization and segmentation of life away from their spouse. And I think
some of them even have separate bedrooms.
Yeah, which is scary, but very old fashioned, very Lucille Ball. I love Lucy. They had separate beds, not separate bedroom. Anyway, but whenever I like experience that or hear about it, it really breaks my heart and challenges me, because I think what I hear and what I see is a complacency where psychological intimacy has not been reached, emotional intimacy has not been tapped into, and intellectual intimacy. I think a lot of couples, and I just say women, can settle for a lot less, let's just say, and can stay on the surface of not going past initial levels of intimacy into deeper places. But for me, I really truly desire to spend time with you, and you are my best friend. And there have been times where I just want to be with friends, or I just want to go out, but honestly, I think I've come to the realization that we have a choice to allow our spouse to show up for us or not. Do you know what I mean? Like, I have a choice to just like break out and go hang with my girlfriends when I need relational fulfillment, or I can pull you into it. I can tug on you to come closer, or I can draw nearer to you and to challenge what we know already, you know, and go deeper with you. Because I think when we put these Band-Aids on problems, when we have these coping mechanisms in life, when we're not paying attention to what we actually need and what our expectations actually are, we can miss an opportunity to go deeper with our spouse.
Absolutely. And all this, in my opinion, comes right back to where we started, which was unexpressed expectations, and being realistic in your expectations, right?
Yeah.
I mean, really, there's a lot, and this happens on both sides, but there's a lot of women who come into marriages with a fairy tale of how the expectations of how this is going to play out.
Not gonna lie, I watched a lot of Disney growing up, and that definitely influenced me, just saying.
Right. So a lot of fairy tale or, romantic books or rom-coms or whatever of these scripted, idealistic men, how they're going to respond, how they're going to talk to you, how they're going to greet you, how they're, every day of every interaction, that's flawless because it's a movie or a book or whatever, is like this weight that you're measuring against right? In a marriage. And that's not fair. I mean, no one's like that in reality. Not even those actors and those writers are like that in reality.
No.
Right? It's like, that's not really fair. But that happens a lot, you know. And for guys, it's a different version of, you know, basically the same thing, right? It's this is how I thought this was gonna go, right? And it's not really playing out that way, you know. And so now what do we do? We're at this impasse of, hey, I got into this marriage expecting, and she got into this marriage expecting, and neither of those are working out. So we're just going to do our own thing. We're just going to do our own thing. We're going to cohabitate well enough together, have crossover where we have it, and kind of just keep pushing on in life. And that's easy. It feels in the moment easier than, let's talk about the big elephant in the room, which is, I was expecting this and this isn't what happened. And you were what were you expecting? Oh, that didn't happen.
That's a very vulnerable conversation.
It's a very vulnerable conversation, but I mean, it's the only way to really get to the bottom of it and to get connection, you know?
Yes. And if your spouse isn't the person that you can have that conversation with, then why did you marry them?
Right.
That's a major question to ask.
Sure. And not to split marriages in saying that, but but you have to be willing to reevaluate your expectations.
And I think, honestly, we don't believe in each other enough sometimes that you actually love me enough to show up for me. I think that's the thing, is in this vulnerability, we often don't bank on each other enough. We don't put stress on the bond that we have, when really this should be the only bond really that we can put as like a ton of stress on, the most stress on, and have it not break, like here on earth. Like the marriage covenant should be the strongest bond that we have. But it takes time to build that strong bond, obviously. Yeah.
And I mean, one of the ways it's been said before would be to say like emotional currency, right? And so as we build intimacy with each other and trust and all that gives emotional currency, right? And the more you invest in that, the more you pour in, the more you have to be able to withdraw when you need it. Right. And like you said, this should be the one that I could pull on the most and pull from the most, but you can only do it if you've been putting in. If I haven't been putting in and investing heavily, I can't withdraw. There's nothing to withdraw. And what happens is in these, we're going to live our lives from a safe distance. Right? We're going to live our marriage from a safe distance because you scare me a little bit, you know, or I'm afraid of your expectations because they're more than I can live up to, or any of that type of stuff, right? We live life from a safe distance. So there's a low balance in this emotional bank account. And so then when something really happens and the going gets tough and I need to make a withdrawal now, you know, or I did something stupid, there's nothing for that withdrawal. You know, we're now in a negative balance, and now things get heated, right?
Yeah.
And now you're taking from me. We're not having fun anymore, and you've stolen from me. Right. And that's how it feels. It's like you have stolen from me. You have, abused me. You've taken too much. And we suddenly feel that way because that thing was already empty. But it's tough because if we had just expressed and our needs, and part of that is knowing what they are, and like you said, actually identifying them, like writing them down.
And like literally putting on your big girl pants and like knowing yourself. But honestly, there have been times where, so survival mode for me looked like nobody loves me, nobody will fight for me, and I need to create a safety fence around myself, so that nobody will have the chance to reject me. Just a little nutshell. Just a little nutshell. So for me and you, me living in survival mode, me living in this place of all these expectations in my head and like trying to construct and like not not really sharing my vulnerability with you. I didn't honestly want to put you in a position to disappoint me.
Yeah, you didn't want to
At
allow
times.
me
I
to be
didn't,
able to
yeah.
disappoint you.
I didn't want to take that step of vulnerability because I didn't think that you could show up for me. And that's a terrible thing to say.
It's risky.
It's a terrible thing to say, but that's what pain looks like. And that's what brokenness looks like in me, to say, I don't really trust that Brett has what it takes. But what I realized was
So then I missed 100% of the shots.
Because I didn't let you take any of them.
Right.
Yes. And this is something that I've grown so much in.
Which just furthers the belief. And we didn't even touch on this idea, which was that when you're hurt, when you have pain, you then begin to look for further proof to continue to support the idea that you had. So, if, you've had a pain, and then the idea you come to is Brett can't support me. And then every moment after that, every other continual thing keeps coming up to re-support that same idea of, this is why. This is another reason why I can't trust Brett to do it. So even though you didn't even tell me because you kept it to yourself, so I missed the shot because I didn't even know about it, it still gets added to the pot of, this is why I can't trust him.
Right. Yeah. And I've gotten so much better, just saying, but that has been a very real part of our journey, and when we construct expectations in our head about what life is supposed to look like, we really have to confront, am I doing this out of fear, or am I doing this because it's really pure vision? You know what I mean? And a lot of us are on a daily basis motivated by fear, and we don't even know it. I mentioned that at the very beginning, that I do believe it was fear that kind of drove me to create this expectation in my head. And it takes a lot of quiet, observation of yourself, and I think a lot of reconciling with the Lord. The Lord, show me where I'm living in fear and where I'm not living in fear. And is this belief based in fear? Because it's not working, or something's off about this. Show me what the root is. Is this where I'm supposed to be? What do I need to let go of? What do you what needs to be created new here? And where am I misstepping, really? Because we all have our areas of sin. We all have our areas, when I say sin, just missing the mark. We all have our areas where we don't realize we're in dysfunction. And I think it just takes a lot of vulnerability and opening up and talking to people and taking wise counsel. And we've mentioned before, we have been huge question askers to other couples that we really admire. And we've put ourselves out there and just been the student. And I've never ever thought that I've had it all together, ever. But I've been trying just to do my best. You know what I mean? But the humility factor in it has been what has allowed us to survive,
For sure.
And grow.
Yeah. And I think it's even in that, because we've taken the stance of we haven't arrived, and teach us. We usually go into those with a few things on our radar of what we think we definitely need improvement in. You know what I mean? And a few things of I think this definitely needs some work. And then many times we end up walking out of that going, oh wow, the thing I thought I was doing great at, I realized now I was totally
I sucked.
I was but it's, to me, that's even
release.
more valuable.
Yes.
Because it was the thing I was totally blind to.
Yeah.
Right. Instead of the thing I was already aware of, it was on my radar and I knew needed some fixing, it was the thing I was completely unaware of. And that you don't know that you don't know stuff, I think, is even more valuable.
Sin loses its power when you bring light to it, when you expose it.
Yeah.
And so one other thing I want to talk about is in getting to this place where I was really starting to take ownership of what I desired and what I wanted and what vision I really had for our marriage and like reconciling, hey, this isn't feeling like I wanted it to feel. And several years back, I took a little retreat a few days away, and I made a list of 200 things, 200 prayer requests. And I determined to write down the things that I wanted. And not like in a bratty sense of when I write it down, I'm going to get it, but putting it actually out there to the Lord and surrendering it actually. Because I was so sick of harboring these things. I didn't have the skills to actually see them come to realization in my life. But I was like holding on to them, and they were creating a lot of friction and tension inside of me. So in writing down everything that I wanted in marriage, motherhood, personal growth, anything for the future, everything for the future, when I wrote it down, it was me turning it over to God and saying, I'm tired of carrying this. Take it, please. Like, I'm sick of it. And so when I did that and I really wrote down very specific things about our marriage, it felt so good, first of all, to just release it and to not be responsible for it anymore. So when I released it, surrendered it to God, I also created a little more room and space inside myself to breathe. And just to say, you know what? I don't know how to make this happen, so I'm just going to let it go, you know? And I remember just feeling so light after that time and feeling really good and just light. And I didn't look back at the list. I didn't reread it. I didn't, I wasn't like fixating on it at all. But it wasn't quite a year later where I started to see extreme breakthrough in our connection. And God reminded me of what I wrote down. And he reminded me like, God doesn't, I'm not going to put words in God's mouth or whatever, but I would see myself writing down the thing on the computer, and that would be bringing to remembrance what it was that I prayed for and that I released to him. And it was the thing that was happening now, the connections that we were rebuilding and building from scratch. And I'm not saying I can take full credit or whatever for being the only, I'm sure you were desiring the same thing. You were wanting to connect and draw close too. But that was a huge moment where I felt like, okay, there's something here. There's power here in releasing this stuff. And I think I started to really become self-aware in what I harbored in my heart and my mind. And then that I needed to release it more often, and that I needed to watch myself, that I wasn't allowing these discontented places to just stay, you know? So it really was a trust journey with God, just to like let go. But yeah, that was really cool. That was really cool. I'd never done something radical like that of like 200 prayer requests, you know? But it was a real breakthrough for me. So.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, what are some prompts or questions that someone could ask themselves to try and unearth these, unspoken expectations, right? And or the hidden law book or playbook, that you're saying, right? What are some prompts that helped you?
Yeah.
Other people say ask themselves to like help bring to the surface what are these things that I am allowing to dictate my life, that I have allowed to be the standard I'm measuring myself against, that no one else has put over me, but I have, and the measure that I'm using, right, in my expectations for my family, my spouse, my relationships, whatever, that's ultimately stealing my joy, tearing me down, wearing me out. What would you say? Like, what questions or prompts could people like say to themselves to help get this list of 200 out?
Yeah, I've actually had several conversations with several women since about it, and giving them a challenge to do what I did. When you find yourself not really able to put your finger on what you want, or put your finger on what you desire life to look like, I would say the silly thing out loud. Say whatever it is that you want, even if it's small, out loud. Like for me, writing it down was out loud. So I did encourage like a bunch of my friends to do the same thing that I did, was write down what you desire, what you want, and don't judge yourself for saying it that way. Like, don't judge yourself for desiring this or that, or
Don't edit it.
don't edit yourself when you're trying to get it out, because we can't live in our heads. Do you know what I mean? We have to live outside of our heads, because we're in relationship and connection with other tangible human beings. We are responsible to communicate. And so I think,
can I ask you a question on that real quick? I mean, so I've known for myself, at least, the longer I keep a thing in my head, the more out of control it becomes. And if it's a problem, especially, the more like dire and massive the problem can feel. And then the moment I like actually express it, writing it down or to another person, it suddenly has shrunk substantially. Like just the process of taking it external.
oh yeah,
I'm like, oh, even sometimes when I'm explaining it, like I've explained things to you before, and as I'm saying it,
verbal
I'm like,
processing.
as I say this out loud, it doesn't sound like such a big thing, but I literally wasted days worrying about this. You know what I mean?
Classic.
And does it feel that way when you're doing this list of 200? Like,
yes, but you're being your own best listener, best friend.
Your own best listener. That's
your
good.
own best friend. Yeah, your own best listener. First of all, I don't think we afford each other enough space as friends and as human beings to actually journey through these things in verbal processing. I think we could do a lot better at that.
We meaning everyone.
We meaning the general human race.
Yeah.
So if you're taking this time for yourself to just do it on your own and writing these things out, you have to be kind to yourself, because there are things that you want to write down, that you want, that are silly, embarrassing. All of a sudden your 3-year-old self is coming out and you don't know where that came from. But these hidden desires and these hidden dreams, it matters to God. That's the thing. It might not matter to your friends. It might not matter to your spouse. It might not even matter to you, but it matters to your inside you. That sounds so silly. Like we often don't respect ourselves enough. We often don't respect our dreams and desires.
Right.
But these are things that make up who we are, and they have an impact on our lives when we don't honor them and give them place. And so I think that getting everything out on the table for yourself and just being really honest with yourself is a really great step to kind of managing expectations and managing dreams and desires. Because, I'm not the type of person that is quite yet in my life, like in my stage of life, where I'm saying, you have the power to make all your dreams come true. I'm not saying, I don't know that life, so I'm not going to say that. But as far as like being vulnerable with God, that's all I've experienced. So that's really all I can talk about, is you have to be vulnerable.
Yeah. And petitions are a real thing.
Petitions are a real thing.
They are a real thing.
Yes.
And I want to say, some of my favorite prompts that I use myself, like questions I ask myself on a more regular basis, is to say something like, if you could never fail, what would you be doing?
Yeah.
Right. What would you want to see happen if you could never fail? Right. What would you try?
If money was no option.
And that's another one. If money was no problem, if you had unlimited time.
No problem.
No option. If you had unlimited time and unlimited money, what would you do?
That's it.
Or how would you want it to be played out? But for me, failure is a big one. Like that's a bigger fear or something block than money and time. So I'd always say, if I couldn't fail, how would I want to see this in my relationship, my business, my kids, whatever? If I couldn't fail, what would I do? Right? How big would I go? and how would I actually like to see this happen? And then I start going through those, and I think, and maybe this isn't the same for you, but I would find that the first like 10-20% of what I get out is maybe not cliches, but just surface, and then it starts to slowly unearth like the real stuff that's been kind of deep down that I haven't thought about, you know what I mean, or in a long time, and like starting to put words to the things I didn't realize were in there.
Yeah, it really depends on your brain, like how you're wired. Like I went really deep first, really big first, and then I was like, yeah, okay, this surface thing does matter to me. Yeah. And being a recovering people pleaser, one of my fears was what would people say if. So not worrying about what people would say, and then even not worrying about what I would say. Which is a whole other like split. Like I feel like it splits me to like have to put that side of myself aside to be a vulnerable person, and whatever. But yeah.
That's really good.
Great stuff.
That's really good. So any other questions or prompts as you're trying to find the hidden playbook that you're holding yourself to?
I think having a heart to connect with your husband and having a heart to take a chance on him is a really great approach. Take a chance on your spouse. Take a chance on their love for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe a self-evaluating question of, has someone else asked this of me, or am I asking this of myself? Right? This, whatever it is, whatever has someone else put this on me, or did I put this on myself?
Right.
And if I put this on myself, is it worth it? Like, do I really need to?
You've asked me that so many times.
I have.
Thanks for answering your own question way better than I was going to answer it.
There's been many times where you've been doing something and I'm like,
you're like, who asked you to do that? And it's like when God, found Adam and Eve and they were hiding because they saw that they were naked and they were hiding from him. And he said, who told you were naked? And that's the way you're at. That's the way you approach me is, who asked you to do that?
Right. Because it wasn't me.
Right. And it would be something that I would be doing for you. For you.
For me. Yeah.
For you. Yeah, it's just so silly. And I think it's all such a distraction, from what's really important. But we have to manage ourselves. And it's been good. At least I've grown in it. At least I feel like I've grown.
We both have.
Yeah.
And I think, the ultimate goal is to have complete control over oneself.
Yeah. Absolutely.
For me to have complete control over myself, right? And for you to be in total control of yourself. And we're just constantly endeavoring to get closer and closer to that. A lot of that is digging out these, things in the subconscious that we don't realize are guiding and leading us and pulling us in different directions and motivating us or scaring us. And, we unearth them and we work on them and we deal with them and keep trying to get better day after day.
Can't run forever.
Yeah. One of my favorites, I know we need to wrap soon, so I'll just end with this one, is to take everything that you're anxious about or scared about and write it all down. And then cross off everything that you can't control. Right? Because if I can only be in control of me, what's everything on that list that's outside of my control?
If you're afraid of a natural disaster, if you're afraid of a hurricane or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or you're afraid of what people are going to think of you.
Yeah.
Right.
That's outside your control.
All that's outside your control. Cross it all off. Right? And hand that whole crossed off section to God and just like, God, that's in your hands. I can't do anything about that. But
yes, that's really
take the rest of the list and say, all right, what can I do with this? And whether you invite God to that process or, you just have something way easier now. And it's like all these anxieties and fears that could just be stacking up that are most of the time completely outside your control, or they're about theoretical solutions, situations that are never going to happen anyway. And we just get them out. And we're like, all right, suddenly it's 60% easier than it was 10 minutes ago. Such a better way to live.
It's great advice. Thank you, Doctor. Dr. Spock.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
There we go. Oh.
Brought it in. All right. Well, thank you for joining us. And
Belle.
This is Belle. She's sleeping.
Belle will be taking questions on next week's podcast.
Yeah,
so please make sure to submit them.
I would really love to hear anybody's response to this, and just I think we would love to hear if there's something that you feel you've grown in your marriage that you would love to celebrate and share with us, or if there's been a personal journey moment that you would like to share. Let us know.
We'll see you guys next week on Let's Be Curious Together.